So hello, welcome to this interview for Best in Heritage. My name is Kate Seymour, and I'm the current chair of ICOMCC. ICOMCC is the Committee for Conservation from the International Council of Museums, and we are one of the larger international groups within the organization. And it's really a pleasure to work with Best in Heritage and to be here today to celebrate the wonderful project of this temple in Karela. And I'm so looking forward to hearing a lot about this project and why you won the prize from UNESCO for the Asian Pacific Award jury. So I'm very curious about this. But before we go into the interview questions and discussion, I would really like if we could have a short introduction, because we have a team of three speakers today. And I read from the project documents that you all three were very much involved in the project. So I'd love to hear more about you. Maybe Rita Thomas, can I ask you to introduce yourself first?
Thank you, Kate, for that introduction. And thank you to Best in Heritage team, Luca, and all the team for this unique opportunity. It's a very exciting time to be here to present a very humble but unique project. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Ritu Sarah Thomas. I'm a conservation architect. I did my master's in architecture conservation, and I'm a practicing conservation architect. I'm also serve as an assistant professor at College of Architecture, Trivandrum. So together with my partners, we have formed an architecture firm called IRA Architecture Design Firm, and this project is part of that firm.
I'm Savita Rajan. I'm a conservation architect as well, specialized in heritage conservation. So three of us were classmates from School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi. So we did our post-graduation together. Currently, we're working with IRA, and also we have our own, we also take up other projects as well, which is related to heritage interiors and residences, etc. So yeah, that's about me.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Swati Subramanian. I'm also part of Team IRA. We three ladies, and we are three friends, and we studied together in School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, Masters in Architectural Conservation. So we formed IRA in 2023, but beyond IRA, I have been also practicing with Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage for the past 5 years, and have contributed to the World Heritage Dossier of Sacred Ensembles of the Hoysalas as well. So that's about me as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this introduction to your wonderful company, and for telling us a little bit about your background and your goals and aspirations. Please do tell us a little bit more about the project. It's the Karnikara Mandupam Temple in Kerala in South Tropical India. Ritu, would you like to just briefly outline the project and what it involved?
Yes, so I will talk about the restoration of the Karnikara Mandapam. I'm sorry, am I audible? Yes. Yeah. I will talk about the restoration of the Karnikara Mandapam. It is a small and unique semi-open timber pillared hall, worship hall, which is located in the middle of a temple complex in Calicut, Kerala. This temple is called the Kundamangalam Bhagavati Temple. And this temple is very unique because the local people believe that the deity or the goddess protects not only the temple, but also the hills, streams, the surrounding landscape and everything. So by conserving this one project or one temple, it's almost like conserving the environment in itself. So this this mandapam, or the worship hall, is actually used for ritualistic purposes and dance performances during its annual temple festival. So that makes it culturally also very significant. And it showcases very intricate timber craftsmanship, which was done in a traditional Kerala style, and has teak wooden pillars and has a laterite stone plinth and base. And the exact date is not known, so it's attributed to around 400 years old by the local people. And not only that, when we actually, and this has a mud flooring on which there are performances or rituals which which take place, and the performer actually uses his own feet to create patterns and rub during the festival or the performance. So it's a very unique performance that happens. And when we encountered this project actually in January 2023, what we saw was this beautiful 16-pillared hall. And the term Karnikar, the name Karnikaram, means 16 in the local language. So that's because of these 16 timber pillars. It has a structural roof also, which is which is timber, and also it is covered with clay tiles. So it's a very unique typology that could be seen in the place. So when we approached this in 2023, this was in January, we saw a very highly deteriorated timber worship hall, and it was almost 80% of the timber was dilapidated. There were signs of termite, fungal rot. There was signs of water seepage into the building because of heavy monsoons. This has gradually deteriorated the timber, and it was almost on the verge of collapse. So that is what we had encountered. So it was a very we found this as a unique project, not only in terms of its cultural significance, but how much the people of the local community were willing to participate in its restoration and teaming with us throughout this work.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that a little bit with us. I'm curious to hear the answer to some of the questions later in the interview, especially with the participation of the local communities. But Savita, could you tell us a little bit about the length of this project? When did you start? I hear from Ritu that you started quite recently. So it's a very large project to envision and to carry out. What were your objectives and what were your aims?
Well, to start off with your question, the timeline, let's say we were only given a timeline of 3 months, but we managed to complete it within 2 months. So it was including the construction. So it was like a day and night job. So we're really thankful to the community, the temple committee, and the workers, the carpenters, our master carpenters, and everybody, because it was quite a task, because the whole project had to be ready for the temple festival. So that's about the timeline. And our aim was to preserve the cultural and spiritual significance of the place. Because it plays a great role in terms of worship and community gathering as well. So it's a religious and a place for community gathering. So there are a lot of festivals, there's a lot of rituals that happen, like Ritu had mentioned. And the objectives were to restore the architectural integrity, by engaging. So all the decisions that we took were not by ourselves alone. It was a collective decision. So for each and every process, there were communities involved. There was temple committees involved. We documented the architectural elements and practices, highlighting the traditional knowledge systems, because it becomes very important to understand what are the traditional measuring units that are used, so that these could be used and these could be studied, and students have to come forward to learn these techniques so that they could apply these to modern creations. So basically, to understand these systems, to create a dialogue between the old and new architecture. Our objective also was to create a communal harmony through inclusive participation in rituals and festivals. Then ecological conservation is a big role, because there are rituals which use these natural powders instead of these chemical powders. So that was very important. And then through comprehensive documentation and traditional measuring. So all these methods I was talking about. And the rationale was to understand the temple's cultural importance, as the project aims to preserve its essence by restoring the architectural integrity and a community.
It sounds like an amazing project, and no wonder it caught the eye of the UNESCO Asian Pacific Award jury. But Swati, can you tell us a little bit about any particular qualities or innovations that you think really attracted the jury to give you this prize?
Yeah, definitely. So we believe what impresses the UNESCO Asia Pacific Award jury are the unwavering commitment of all the stakeholders, especially the local community, in restoring their place of worship. So every decision is made in consultation with all the stakeholders, including the temple committee members, the facilitators, the investor, the local youth group, and the locally skilled craftsmen. So that is one of the unique, factor which made us got this award, because it's a truly a community-led conservation initiative. It is actually a structure which is not legally protected. So this clubbing up of all the investor, facilitator, and the youth group made it possible to restore the structure holistically. Basically, we have managed to restore the spirit of the place. So I think that is one collaboration effort which is very noticeable, because it happens rarely in a scenario like a small town in Kerala. So, and also our focus was to follow our traditional Indian principles, such as the Vastu Shastra, which is the science of traditional architecture, and also the Tacha Shastra, which is the science of carpentry, and also the Vriksha Ayurveda, the science of plant life. So we have employed, the local artisans, and we have, empowered their livelihood. And through all this conservation efforts, it becomes like a community-led conservation project. So I think that is what inspired the jury. And jury had mentioned that this is a grassroots model of transmitting the cultural legacy of Karnikara Mandapam and other living heritage sites across India and beyond. So I think this is it. So it's all about the community.
It sounds like a wonderful project. I really wish I could be there to be with you, but you did it in such short time, and there must have been some challenges, but as well as positive experiences. Rita, do you want to give us a little overview about those challenges and what really made you get up in the morning to continue with the project?
So we had 3 challenges, if I can sum it up. One is, as I mentioned before, this was a highly deteriorated structure. So we had to take a call on what to do with this project, first of all. So do we reuse the wood? Do we, what should we do with the wood, which is, completely termite eaten? Some of it was subject to fire hazard. So what should we do about the wood? And so the call that we took, as Swati mentioned, was to do renewal. Renewal is what so we had to find similar wood with similar properties as that of the original material and use that. So it was more like a ethical conservation in itself. And also we decided to retain all these stone elements. So there was no new elements put in place in terms of the stone masonry. The second one was to do all this in a very limited time frame and find skilled craftsmen within that short time period, 3 months. And we also had a challenge of the cost, because most of this 2/3 of the fund was sourced from the community themselves. So we were tight on a very tight budget, and all these 3, the time, the state of the condition of the building, and the cost. So that was the real challenges that we had. And of course, the positive experiences was working with skilled craftsmen, finding people who work with local materials and employing them. Secondly was involving the local community in a small or big way, even from just by asking them what is the significance, how did they see this, what was their perception of this hall, even from their childhood, what is its, and even to implementing the project, and finally in even maintaining the project. The local community played a very huge role, from small children to elderly. And I think the last positive note was watching the whole mandapam, the hall come to life during the annual festival day, when the ritual or the performance happened, and we could see this, on a live on the last day under this restored mandapam. And that was a very fulfilling experience in itself.
I know that experience. I'm a painting conservator, and the idea, you deconstruct everything and then you reconstruct it, and only at the last touch, when it's actually back in its use, then you see the full glory of the project, and it's an amazing feeling, I think. Actually, one of my other questions was a little bit about that revitalization of craft skills. Do you think that this skill exchange and redevelopment will be continued and maintained in the future? Savita, maybe you could answer that question.
Yeah, definitely. Because, for example, let's say the timber oil that we have used in itself is like a craft form. I mean, it's not factory made. It's done by an Ayurvedic practitioner. So, and it's done using 32 medicinal herbs. So, and it's a part of a ritual. So more people like his generation, his kids, generally what happens in India is a carpenter's son never becomes a carpenter. He gets into an IT field or a technical field or something like that. So these kind of things, we wanted to promote this kind of an approach. Let's say to conserve these things. And for example, these the Kalyatam or the performances that happen in the mandapam will definitely, so we could see a lot of youngsters coming up, to maintain the whole the surroundings of the mandapam. A young group called Team High Range, who are all these youngsters who come forward. So with our approach was to bring in as much as awareness and bring in the community so that these craft skills could be carried forward.
Yeah, I think this is a really commendable, sustainable practice, and encouraging a younger generation to really relook at these skills as not just a generational aspect.
Yeah.
And moving into something else. I think, this living heritage, she talks about that earlier. It's so important. I know that we have a short time with this interview. I would love to spend much more, but I do have a couple more questions. Kerala is a beautiful state in India, and there is a tropical, and the growth pattern of the environment is very high in Kerala. How have you thought about that long-term sustaining what you have left behind with the project when it completed? Have you got practice? Have you encouraged the users of the site to look at the vegetation and reducing that encroachment into the environment? You talked also about the natural materials to affect pests. And maybe Swathi, do you have some insight that you can share with us on that topic?
Actually, yes. So in our conservation project, we have, environmentally approached the project. We have this the whole idea of employing the local artisans and local knowledge system. So even for the pest control and all, we are talking about, living sites, right? And especially in India, you are talking about the sites which are made of organic materials like wood. So our superstructure is 90% made of wood. So to preserve wood, what are the measures taken? Like Savita mentions, like we had used an oil prepared by a traditional Ayurveda practitioner suggested in Vriksha Ayurveda text. So he has given us the oil. So he prepares the oil by doing fasting because it's for the temple. So it's very auspicious. So he has employed, 32 herbs and different 5 types of oil to make it from like 32 liters to 4 liters. He'll take 1 week. So we have we have managed to get all this expertise on site, and for the pest control and all, we contacted a lab and made a specific, termite control solution, which is made from plant extract. So these are the measures, we made sure that, it happens, and it should be like environmental friendly also, because the most greenest building are the buildings which is already exist. So conservation is very important these days that way. So by talking to the local, experts, we managed to get all this in place and revive the structure.
And is there a long-term planning for, how long does this oil?
Yeah, so we have given them a maintenance manual so that all the names and the expertise for the lime, the oil, everything is there. Like how to use it, where to use it, what is the time period, and they have, for example, the oil. They have produced the oil extra so that they can apply every year. So all these measures were given in terms of a maintenance manual, and we are in touch with them and making sure that it's maintained well. For the future.
I think we have time for one last question, and maybe I can pass back to Ritu for that one. Do you have a next project? Are you taking some of the skills and experiences with you in your future journey?
Yes, actually, this first project, this restoration of Kanikar Mandapam, is the start of a larger project. So our aim is to create a grassroots level model for sustainable heritage conservation in India, in Kerala, mostly in Kerala, and that which can be replicated in other similar models or other similar projects throughout India. So this is, in that case, it's a very unique project. So we would be first restoring the entire complex in the initial phase, and then the surrounding sites, and also take into consideration the environmental conservation as well. So it is more like a holistic model that we are trying to develop. So, and of course, involving the community and the local people as well, so that it is sustained, so that it's not a project that once we let go, our hands let go, that it is not, or it goes back into the state of deterioration, but the community takes it up, and that becomes a very sustainable model for heritage. So we are also working on similar projects, both religious and secular projects, where we are following a sustainable model for conservation.
Oh, well, thank you so much, all three of you. Thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Swathi. Thank you, Savita, for sharing this wonderful approach to built heritage conservation. And, I wish you all the success in your next projects, and hope you continue to share your ideas with the wider community. And congratulations again on winning this award. It's so well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. It was wonderful to talk to you and discuss about the project.